Hello and welcome to this episode of the Strategy with Soul podcast with me, your host, Sally Oddy. Today, I am so excited to be joined by Katie Wilkinson. Katie is in my mind, a quantum business and wealth coach who guides business owners to collapse time, access the intimate quantum field, and co-create with source to, and just listen to this really carefully, materialize unrealistic wealth and business success. I love that. It feels so, just reading that feels so expansive and so freeing. So welcome, Katie. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Sally. That was honestly like the best introduction I could have ever asked for. So there's nothing even I could add to that. It was just perfect.
Oh, well, I was going to say, if you could actually just take a moment to kind of introduce yourself. Your business story is quite interesting. You started when the lockdown happened. So just want to maybe just take a moment just to introduce yourself and your business, and then we'll get stuck in because I have so many questions for you and they mainly revolve around quantum and embodiment. So if you can sort of tell our listeners a bit more about who you are, and then we'll dive into the juicy bits.
Perfect. Well, hello, Katie Wilkinson. I'm from Melbourne, Australia. And yes, just as Sally said, I have been in business now for just over 2 years. I actually started when I was 21. I quit my 9 to 5 at the beginning of the global pandemic. I had no plan B. I had never really done coaching. I'm just like, I am going to make this work. So the same day I quit my 9 to 5, I invested $4,000 into a business coach. And that was just the start of everything. And my business really blew up within that time period. I was able to collapse time. And, in my old job, I was making $23 an hour. And within 2 years, I was able to quantum leap into $20,000 weeks and days, and even pay in full transactions of $20,000. So it was just so amazing. And I love having high level conversations like this as well.
And what job did you have before you started this business?
Yeah, so I was actually a digital marketer for an e-commerce business. So I'll do all like their social media. I also took their photos, and I also studied kinesiology and mind body medicine prior to that. So I did a couple of things, but this is definitely my sole purpose work.
It 100% is, because I'll be honest with you. So I bought one of Katie's masterclasses and it blew my whole world wide open. And I've got to say to you, I went to my husband afterwards and I said, I found this amazing woman. I think she might be a quantum physicist. I think she might like have a doctorate in quantum physics or something, because the way this woman's talking about quantum physics, I'm like, oh my God, this is not normal. So how did all of this kind of come through for you? How do you know all this stuff?
Yes. So I have been really blessed to be, raised in a family where they're super into personal development. Like my father was always playing, personal development tapes in the car because we weren't allowed to listen to music. So I've like absorbed and kind of been around that. But when I was 16, I had my spiritual awakening when I actually got really, really ill, had to drop out of school. And I had so much time where I just started, scrolling on the internet, and I found the world of manifestation. And that was when it all clicked. I was like, oh, okay, this is like what I've been doing my whole entire life. Now there's actually a process that I can go and study and apply. And that led me to deepening my understanding, finding, people like Joe Dispenza, quantum work. And I love, how you talked about, quantum physicists and all of this. And really what I love to do is just break it down and make it accessible. And what is beautiful about this work is that science can actually prove quantum leaping and accessing these dimensions. And in that masterclass, Quantum Attraction, I break down the science of how it works. But honestly, it gets to be really accessible to each and every person, whether you're into science or you don't understand it at all. You can access the quantum and collapse time.
And I think that's why you particularly spoke to me, because my whole philosophy is strategy with soul. So my background's very corporate and commercial. I'm very strategic, kind of very into the strategy and the how, the very masculine, but I'm also very spiritual, very soulful, and I'm really into the manifestation part and the soul alignment. So that's what I love about your approach with this. It is taking the two bits and blending them together. So for anyone who doesn't yet know, what is the quantum?
Yes. So the quantum is essentially the theory of understanding that our physical reality is actually a byproduct of the state of being that we occupy. So we were taught that, this is our reality, and therefore we are a byproduct of our reality. We react to our reality, but quantum is actually the other way around. It shows that atoms and molecules and particles are actually constantly, continually reflecting back and being influenced by your perspective. And so that led to the discovery of the quantum field, which is essentially understanding that we live in an energetic world. What you can see is just 0.0001% of what is actually available to us. Atoms are vibrating particles of energy. And so when we tap into that, we recognize that there is so much more available to us: the money, the love, different parallel realities all existing in this now moment. And we can quantum leap into that. So a quantum leap is just accessing that different dimension and influencing and interacting reality. And essentially you can bend reality in your favor. So there's so much more obviously that I could go into, but that is just a brief little introduction there of quantum.
And I think the reason it's so powerful is I think we get so grounded in our own version of what reality is, what's available to us, what's possible for us, whether we are worthy enough to have more. And I think that when you start going into this type of work, it really blows the lid off everything. And that's one of the reasons why I think it's so powerful. So you mentioned there a quantum leap. Can you expand on that? And most of my listeners are business owners. So in terms of to speak to the women who are in the place now where they're doing the things and wanting to have the impact, and they know they have everything inside them to have this amazing impact in this beautiful life and incredible business, but they can't see the way. What is a quantum leap and how do they access it?
Yes. So I feel like at the moment, the word quantum leap is kind of like a buzzword that's being thrown around a lot. And we kind of maybe have lost the understanding a little bit of what it means. And it's essentially a drastic shift in energy state. So oftentimes we think of quantum leap like, oh my goodness, $0 to $1 million overnight. And yes, it could be something that big, but it could also be something small. It's essentially you accessing another dimension. So it could be quantum leaping into getting a client. Let's say today you didn't make a sale, and then during this podcast, you got a client. That could be a quantum leap. Anything where you are shifting the energy, recalibrating to a new state of being. How a quantum leap happens is that it requires a different shift in your energy. If we understand that reality purely is just energy, and this energy matter is responding constantly to us. Therefore, we need to create a shift in our energy in order to see that shift externally. And it's not so much about what you do, but it's really about who you are. You're constantly emitting a vibrational frequency out there, telling the universe what you are available for and what you aren't. I love to say the quote, what you anticipate is what you create. In every moment, you're anticipating something. Either that, oh no, it's the 22nd of the month and it's a slow month, I'm not going to make it, or I'm going to sign a client, I'm going to have my biggest month. Like, you're always having these subconscious or conscious preconceptions around what is going to happen and what is available for you. So I like to say that in order to quantum leap, it's about tuning your energy. If you think about a radio station, right, you emit a certain frequency, and that frequency is then, broadcast, and it comes back to you to receive the station that is in exact alignment to that specific frequency. We are like walking radios, right? And if we want to tune in to a specific reality, because it already exists in the quantum, you don't have to create it, you just have to quantum leap into it. You just have to tune your energetic vibration to access that specific reality. Right? So whatever reality that you're receiving now in your 3D is what you're currently tuned into. You just have to calibrate it to a different station. A different station is a different reality. We need to also be clear, though, that it's not about high vibration and low vibration. We sometimes hear this and be like, well, I just need to be more positive. I need to be more high vibe. And it's not high vibe or low vibe. It's just a different vibe, right? If we're talking about a radio station, it's like 101.9 isn't higher vibe, quote unquote higher vibe, then 101.1 is just different. It's just a preference. And so it also really relieves the pressure around I have to be perfect in order to attract. You just have to be an energetic match. And the amount of time it takes for you to quantum leap is the amount of time it takes for you to become an energetic match for that reality.
I love that you picked up on there about this high vibe thing, because I think there is this massive misconception that in order to be successful, you have to be like someone else who's being successful. And a lot of times that someone people are looking at is someone who's always, yay, wow, oh, up there and everything. And then you think, oh, that's why she's attracting all of this. But like you say, it's not that, it's about the energy that you're calibrating to. During your masterclass, I'm obviously not going to give anything away. And if you haven't bought Katie's, which one is the one that I bought? Which one was it?
The quantum attraction.
The quantum attraction one. If you haven't downloaded that, I suggest you, because it's amazing. I love one of the things you spoke about in there about how when you're calibrating energetically to something, and like you say, it's all about the energy, but it's not actually the money that you want. It's the emotional response, and it's the emotional feeling and the frequency and the vibration that the money is going to give you. And I think for me, that's been a huge shift. Last year, I did a massive releasing ceremony. I released my self-worth from the financial success of my business. And I think so many women are holding on to the figures, the money, thinking it's the money they want. And I think if you try and calibrate just to something that doesn't really exist, you know, pieces of paper, numbers on a screen or whatever, like it's not real enough for most of us. Talk about that a little bit, because that really piqued my interest in your masterclass.
Yes, I love this conversation. This is really the core of my quantum work. A lot of people come into my world like, yeah, I want a quantum leap, I want the millions. And then uncovering all of this and realizing it's never about the destination. It's never about the physical 3D manifestation. We're just chasing emotions, right? As you said, you want the money because you want to feel wealthy. You want to stop feeling lack. And you think that once you hit a certain digit or number in your bank account, that'll elicit that feeling, when in reality, you have full responsibility to be able to embody that now. The love that you want, or the relationship, right? You don't need someone else in order to actually feel that love. And so it really liberates ourselves, because we're no longer chasing physical material items in order to feel a certain way. We realize that we get to come back into ourselves and practice radical self-responsibility and recognize, if I can tune into the frequency and feeling prior to the event manifesting in my physical reality, then it doesn't even matter anymore. Are you even desperate for the money, for the love, for the success when you can feel it now? It becomes a totally different playing field, because you're no longer in this chasing, desperate, forcing mode. You're leaned back, you're receptive, and it's just a game, right? Yes, you know, just because I realize that it's all available to me now, it doesn't mean I'm in a passive mode and I don't want anything. I still have desires. We're here to create, right? That's in our natural, innate nature. Yes, I still want to create more wealth and more impact and all of this, but it comes from a place of desire and pleasure and fun. Like, this is just a game I'm playing, rather than I need to, because if I don't achieve this outcome, then I am not worthy and I'm not validated in who I am. So it really completely changes the game when you recognize that you're responsible for your state of being.
And I think that's such an important point you've just touched on there, or you've just mentioned, in terms of a lot of us and a lot of people are like waiting for that time, that thing. And I was thinking this morning, like, because I've been really playing in the vibration of wealth and what it means to me. And I was thinking this morning, like, Sally, what is the most luxe version of you and your life? And I was thinking, for so many women, like, if it's a beautiful home, make your home as beautiful as it can be. If it's certain clothing that makes you feel really luxe, get whatever you can afford and tell yourself, this is the most luxurious thing I'm wearing. If it's skincare or whatever, like, be in every moment of your life as if it is the most luxurious thing. Because I think if you really luxuriate in what you have now, and you really, like you say, embody that and feel that need, the lack, the desperation. I'm glad you touched on that, because I think that is a huge thing. it all just kind of evaporates. And every action you take, and this is an important point to note as well, and you said this as well, it's about taking the action from that place. Then every action you take comes from such a different place that it is felt differently, it is received differently, and it gets totally different results.
Yes, I love that. And that's something I do as well. It's really bringing the frequency of our so-called destination, right, that we're trying to achieve into this now moment. And it's just small things. Like if you are manifesting, luxury travel and you want to be a digital nomad, it's like, well, how can you make every single day feel like a vacation in this now moment? Like, and even just small things like drink water out of a wine glass, whatever it is, it's like elevate to the smallest degree. I love that. So beautiful. And you're able to just feel that frequency. It's like in this moment, it's equally available to you. As you said, like put on the clothes that the wealthy woman would wear and walk like her, be like her, infuse it prior to the money. And not only that, but you actually showing up as that state of being, as that wealthy woman, is going to make you a match for that. So it's a win-win situation. And it's just so beautiful when you're able to attune to that.
And like you said, the digital nomad thing, literally like go work from your garden, go work in the park, go and work in a different cafe every day. Like that's what the life of a digital, like that is open and accessible to everyone today. Like that's the thing. I think we're always just thinking, oh, it's going to happen for me. Some future version of myself is going to be able to have this. No, like you get to have this now. You get to make the decision in this now moment, which I've started saying every time. Now that I've been listening to you saying in this now moment, I'm like, in this now moment. You get to decide every single moment of every single day how you're living your life and what you're putting out there and the energy you're all calibrating to. So I've got one question before we move on to embodiment, because in the masterclass, again, you spoke a lot about embodiment and I really, really loved what you were saying. But I want to ask you, for women who have never experienced wealth, so I was interested to hear the story of your mother, who was she an immigrant and she came over? Do you want to tell us the story? She came over to Australia.
Yeah, so she immigrated to Australia, $20,000 in debt from China, and she was like living in real poverty over there. And she came here, could barely speak English, and really put her mind to it, said, I'm going to be wealthy, and ended up building an 8-figure company. So when people tell me it's hard, I can't do it, I'm behind, and all of these things, I really bring back the story of my mother. She's a great example to everyone that wealth is available to you. And there was no internet back then. Like now it's even easier than ever, especially if you are privileged enough to be born in a country where you have all of these opportunities. But there's one thing, right, that you said there of what about women who've never experienced wealth?
Yes.
And one thing I say about that is untrue. Every woman has experienced wealth, because wealth has nothing to do with what is being reflected to you in your bank account. Yeah. There's money and there is wealth. Wealth is a state of being. Wealth is actually your birthright. It is who you are. It is your essence at your core. When you really tap into this now moment, forget about the past and the lack and the illusion of scarcity. You recognize that you actually have it all, that in this now moment, there is no poverty. There is no such thing as being behind, but it is all available to you. Right? And it's a choice. Like in each moment you can choose, I feel like lack, I feel like I don't have enough, or you can choose that you feel like enough. Fear and faith are two sides of the same coin, right? You're projecting, it's just a projection of this is what I'm deciding to see. You're either fearing that you don't have enough. That's actually untrue, because in this now moment, we don't know what's going to happen in a second. In 10 seconds, you could receive $1 million. Faith is the same thing. Faith is just a positive projection of fear into the future, saying it's going to work. So you're either projecting it's not going to happen or it's going to happen. Either way, you have equal accessibility to you, recognizing that wealth is just a decision. You choose to feel the wealth that is already within you, because wealth is just the divineness of the universe and God within yourself.
I'm even more glad I raised that question now, because it shows our conditioning to think of wealth as dollars and cents in the bank.
If it were true, and this is the thing I like to bring up as well, if it were true that wealth is money in your bank, then those who have the most money would feel the most wealthy and would not feel scarcity. When there are plenty of millionaires, I have met millionaires who are more worried about money than the people in poverty, because they still choose to think, oh no, it's going to go away. I have to be frugal. I don't have enough, because it's a decision that they're making in that moment. If it were true, then receiving more money would fix all of your anxiety and worry, when money cannot do that. Money only amplifies what you already are. If you worry when you're in poverty, you're going to worry when you're a millionaire. Your brain will still find ways to amplify and project that worry.
And I've heard you say this before as well, that if you're thinking, when I am wealthy in terms of money, I will be happier, I will be more relaxed, I will be less stressed. Like, no, there are unhappy, stressed and anxious millionaires all over the world. Like, money is not the thing that's going to make you feel those things. That has to come from within. And that brings us beautifully, almost as if I planned it, which I didn't, this just kind of happens sometimes, to embodiment. So we've mentioned this whole high vibe thing where you've got to be high vibe all the time. And even when you're feeling awful, you've just got to project or pretend that you're this high vibe person. Just ask, believe, receive, and everything will just drop in your lap. How is embodiment different to that? Or how does it kind of go deeper than that, should I say?
Yes. So we often hear in like the manifestation world, pretend or act as if, and it's almost like, oh, we're playing this game. And it's almost like I'm a child trying to like pretend and play a game of family or whatever, but it's not like that. It's like, again, the universe responding to who we are at our core, and you can't trick the universe. You can't think in your mind, I'm a millionaire, but deep inside you feel unwealthy, right? So it's embodiment is shifting our state of being, because the state of being we occupy is what attracts, not our thoughts, not our emotions, because I could just then have the thought I'm a millionaire and then I would attract. It doesn't work like that. It's who we are at our core. And so we go beyond that. And it also is a massive permission slip as well, because as you said, it's not about high vibe. It's just about being that future version of yourself now, right? So if we tap in, and this is a really good exercise, tap in to that next level reality that you want to call in, the $1 million, booked out coach, whatever it is, and tune into how would she show up? And you realize that, wow, actually, maybe I've put this goal on a pedestal that I think I need to be perfect, and I need to, have all my issues sorted out, and I need to be inhuman in my emotional experience, when really millionaires and billionaires, they are just regular people with more money in their bank account. That's it. And they've experienced stress and emotional problems and PMS and issues and all of these things. And that does not determine or take away from their ability to attract money, right? When Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos has a bad day, do their sales all of a sudden decline? Like, we have this weird correlation that, oh no, I'm in a bad mood, so therefore I can't attract money, or I can't attract a client, when money doesn't care what emotional state you're in. Money desires you all the time. Money wants to be with you, be in your energy. Are you available to receive it? Do you feel like you're enough in this moment to receive money just because, right? So this is what embodiment is. It's not about being high vibe. It's not about, changing your emotions. It's about, am I embodying the version of me who already has it? And that version of me has bad days and has the full spectrum of things, but she has this deeper personal power that when she's in her grief and in her pain and in her problems, she still has a deep knowing that money is always coming. And no matter what is happening, nothing can stop the flow of prosperity.
And I think that's the really powerful thing, isn't it, about embodiment? Because I've been doing a lot of work on this lately, and it's funny how, because mantras and affirmations don't work for me. I think I am just someone who's very grounded in reality. So for these things to work for me, it has to be real. It has to be really, 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 I need to feel it on every single level, mentally, physically, emotionally. I have to really, really believe it. I think that's why embodiment appeals to me so deeply, because when I've been sort of playing with the energy of embodying the kind of woman I want to attract into my business, and also I've really switched my focus from money to impact, from income to impact. I'm really more focused on impacting the kind of woman and the kind of work. And it's funny, as I've worked more on embodying, and your masterclass helped me massively on this, something has shifted so deeply inside of me. it's not like I'm pretending to act as if. I am just acting as if.
You are that woman.
Yes, I heard something the other day. It's like, don't wait for someone to tell you you are a big deal. Just decide you're a big deal and then just be a big deal. And I think that's what's happened. I think this shift, when you said about in your masterclass, honestly, guys, get Katie's masterclass, about embodiment, it really clicked for me and made deeper sense. And I was like, this is the piece I think I've actually been missing. I've been pretending and acting as if, and it's not soul deep. So it's not made any difference to my life. Whereas now I like what you said, like at the beginning of every month, I've already made $20,000. So how am I going to show up as that woman? Like, if that being the case, what would I do today?
Exactly. I love that. And again, it really takes back your personal power, because it's really like it leaks your energy when you say, I can only feel this way when I have received the thing, right? I can only feel like I have $20,000 months when I receive $20,000 months. This is what I love so much about it, because it's like, wait a second, can I be self-responsible to feel that, rather than waiting for something to change in my external physical reality?
And to kind of bring us to a little bit of a close here, because I'm just obviously conscious that our time is running out a little bit. A lot of women get into the feast or famine cycle, where they work, and then they have like a $20,000 month, and it's all amazing. And then there's crickets for like 3 months, and it's like this feast or famine. And I think it's something to do with energetic embodiment and being able to hold that. Now, as somebody who has not been in business for very long and is experiencing amazing success and your business keeps growing, how did you adapt, adjust, expand yourself to make that first $5, $10, $15, $20,000 a month, whatever it is, but then hold yourself in that space? You're able to keep receiving more and more and more.
Yes, that's such a good question. And this is the thing with embodiment, is that it is very, very specific. So you need to be very clear with what you are attuning to. When I help my clients embody, we aren't just calibrating to $20,000 months. We are calibrating to consistent $20,000 months. And there's a slight shift in your energy and vibration there. If we tune in now to just a one-off $20,000 month, it's like, oh my God, that's amazing. That's surprising. That's my biggest month ever, whatever. That feels different to, oh yeah, my baseline is 20K, right? Yeah. So we go from being surprised and excited, and yeah, we're still excited and grateful, but this whole thing of like, oh my goodness, this is a one-off thing, that's calibrating to it being a one-off versus, of course I did. I'm not available for anything less. And so this is where I call holding the energy of consistency. We do not calibrate to anything as if it's a one-time thing, but we're actually projecting for it to now be our baseline standard of, I couldn't imagine earning anything less. This is where we talk about energetic minimums, right? So prior to, a couple of years ago, a 10K month was like amazing. Oh my goodness, that's huge. And now I've calibrated my energy where if I made a $10,000 a month, that's horrible, right? And it's just, what's the difference? It's the energetic shift in my vibration. So it's about holding that of like, of course I'm expecting that, versus a one-off cash injection. And so when you are experiencing these fluctuations in your business, it's because you were energetically available for that. So many of us, we have a high month, all of a sudden our energy says, it's too good to be true for it to continue increasing. So therefore I must have a lower month to counterbalance that. So your energy is speaking for you, and noticing if you have been having those energetic fluctuations, it's because that probably felt safe to you and that's what your energy was projecting. Now it's just to iron out the kinks to get really consistent with your expectation of income.
And for the women who are doing the work, they've got the strategy on lockdown, they've been embodying and doing the energy work, and they're not seeing any results yet, what's your advice to them?
So the first thing is that there's nothing wrong right now. I don't like to go into it as if there's something to fix. It's not been working, because that's already saying that almost like we've failed, right? I'm never here to fix anyone or, fix my clients. It's about, let's elevate it. What if it is already working? Look at what it's been doing well. Where have you been really succeeding? And noticing that, what if there's nothing wrong? It's just been a little blip. It's just a little blip on the timeline, and we're just going to patch all this up and get our energy going. So I've had those moments too, where I had my first 10K month and I went down to like a $3,000 a month, excuse me, or something really low. And
you
then
even choked when you said that. Yeah, it was so shocking to you.
I was like, oh my goodness. And then a 20K month. And in that dip, when I couldn't foresee what was going to happen, and after that dip, I went 20K, 30K, 40K, like I never looked back. But there was that worry and anxiety. But when I look back now, I just laugh. Like that was a blip in the whole entire timeline. What you're experiencing now is just a tiny blip. You're going to look back in your multiple millions and be like, wow, it was just a moment of unalignment. And the unalignment is a catalyst for your massive growth, because in that unalignment, you notice, okay, where have I just, not been truly embodying, and where can I stand more in my personal power? So understand that it is working. It's always working. The past does not matter, but what matters is who you're deciding to be. Are you dedicated and devoted to making it happen? And really asking yourself, am I chasing the destination, trying to get there, trying to implement the strategies to make it work? Or am I actually living and running my business as if I already am her? Because that's where the incongruencies can lie. Like I see a lot of clients where they're trying to make it work. Like, I'm doing all the things. Yes, you're doing all the things, but you're doing it as if you don't have it versus doing it as if you're already there. And that slight shift can catapult you into massive success.
I love that you talk so much about personal power and there being nothing to fix, because I think a lot of women kind of really focus on that. I think what you just said there is really beautiful, that even if the money isn't rolling in yet, focus on what's working, what you're doing, know that things are working and that everything is aligning to bring everything forward, and you just need to keep on the path. My 2 words for 2021, and I've carried them through to this year, are faith and focus. And it really helps kind of ground me and just kind of keep me moving in the right direction, even before the proof is available to me. So Katie, oh my goodness, it has been such a joy. I just want to ask you one final question. If you could recommend a book to our listeners, if this has piqued people's interest, obviously I would recommend you go and download Katie's masterclass because it's amazing. But if they wanted to just buy a book and kind of dip their toe in, what book would you suggest? What book has kind of blown your mind the most?
Oh my goodness. I have like a never ending list.
I know, look at me. I'm like the library here. So
one of my favorites definitely is The Power of Now. And it might not seem like it is related to quantum, but it actually is, because in order to access the quantum, you need to be deeply present in this now moment. That book definitely just completely shifted and blew my mind and really helped me on my path of spiritual awakening. But if you also want to dive deeper into like all this quantum stuff, specifically in the science, I'd also recommend any book by Joe Dispenza. He is amazing and he really does all his research around it. So yeah, definitely Eckhart Tolle and Joe Dispenza for more of this work.
2 beautiful recommendations. Katie, it's been an absolute joy. I'm so glad that I just happened to drop into your world a few weeks ago. You have already blown my mind, and I know that we're going to be working together loads in the future as well. Thank you so much for being a guest on my podcast. It's been an absolute joy. Thank you very much.
Amazing, Sally. Thank you so much for this. I loved our conversations.
Thanks very much, everyone, for listening. And I hope you enjoyed this. Check out the show notes, and I'll be linking links to Katie's profiles where you can find her masterclasses in the show notes and wherever you're listening to or watching this podcast episode. So thanks very much for joining us, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Bye.